Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lindsay, and in today's video I'm going to continue the talk from my last video where I talked about my ulcerative colitis journey leading up to my surgery. I'm now going to talk about having surgery and having my colon removed. At the beginning of 2019, I started to have flare-up symptoms. My gastro doctor tried several different medicines to get my flare-up under control, but unfortunately nothing was working. We did a colonoscopy, and he could see that while normally when I would be in a flare-up, because I was diagnosed with pancolitis and my whole colon would be inflamed, it looked like it was just the lower part of my colon, which kind of made sense as to why usually when I would be in a flare-up, I would go from good to bad really fast. This was more over several months of me slowly getting worse. So it made sense since it was just seemed to be the lower part of my colon. We tried as a last medication some medicated enemas. They are called, I'm going to say it wrong, mesalamine enemas. And the point is, it's just getting that lower part of the colon. So the point was that it would help calm things down. Unfortunately, that didn't work. I went to see my gastro doctor with the plan to ask him if we could remove my colon. But he actually suggested it before I could. He was like, I think your best option is surgery. And I was like, yes, let's do it. So he told me about a surgeon in the area that he was going to get me referred to. My surgeon has other associates that he works with, so my gastro doctor let me know that I might not be seeing this main guy, but all of his associates were good. I ended up getting a call, and I was actually going to be seeing the main guy, which was really exciting. And of course, because of my insurance, I need referrals for any specialty doctors, so we had to go through that process. But I was going to be seeing the surgeon for a consult that next week. Unfortunately, at this point, I got increasingly worse in just a week's span. I started throwing up and not being able to stop throwing up, and so I wasn't keeping any liquids in me. I remember calling my surgeon's office that morning. My appointment was like at 1 p.m. and it was actually getting worked in. I remember calling them and asking if there was a sooner time that I could come in because I had thrown up so hard I tasted blood, and I couldn't tell at that point because it was like bile was coming up if it was actually blood that came up, or I'm thinking it was just because it was so raw from all the throwing up that it was just straining. Unfortunately, how things work with my surgeon is he's either in the office like in the morning or the afternoon, and then the other half of the day he's on his like rotations. He's either doing surgery or he's checking on his patients in the hospital, and he goes between two hospitals in two different cities. He unfortunately wasn't even coming into the office until the afternoon. A little bit later, the nurse called me back and actually said, come to the hospital, we're going to admit you. Come through the ER, we're probably going to admit you because of the symptoms I was describing. So I ended up seeing my surgeon in an ER room. I had a lot of medication. They were trying to control my nausea and my pain. When he walked through the door, I threw up. It was his first meeting me. I threw up right in front of him. But he described to me what he was going to do. A lot of surgeons can do either a 2-step process or a 3-step process. Because I was so ill, he was going to do a 3-step process. So first step was he was going to remove my colon, and that would put me with a end ileostomy, which is just the end of your small intestines. Once all that healed, second surgery was going to be removing my rectum, leaving all but the rectal cuff, which is like your sphincter. He was going to then revise my stoma to be a loop ileostomy because he needed that end of the small intestines to make the J pouch. Essentially, because your small intestines are small, and they're not big like your large intestines and your rectum. They sew some of these small intestines into like a J shape. So they'll bring it into a curve, and then the middle part they'll sew together, and that acts as a bigger reservoir to hold output, and that will be connected to the rectal cuff. So it's going to act as a new rectum. So then I would end up with a loop ileostomy, which is literally what it is. It's just a part of the small intestines that's pulled out into like a loop. The top hole is what the output from your upper is going to come out into, and then there's the bottom hole which connects down to the bottom part of your small intestines. Sometimes mucus can come out of it. That's completely normal. And then the final surgery would be completely removing the stoma, putting it back inside, sewing it together, and then me utilizing the J pouch, the internal pouch. So in July of 2019, I had my very first surgery, which is called a total colectomy. That is just the removal of the colon, which is your large intestines, and then I was given an ileostomy. You might have heard the word colostomy. So some people have colostomy bags, some people have ileostomy bags. Colostomy bags are utilizing a portion of the colon. Ileostomies are utilizing a portion of your small intestines, or the ileum. I was in the hospital for about a week. I did get sick after my surgery. I had what's called an ileus. Hot tip. After surgery, it's very important to walk. They pump your body full of gas. It takes a while for your organs to wake up. Mine really like to take that nap. So they really want you to walk, even though you're in a lot of pain. I was in so much pain. My surgery was laparoscopic. I only had a few small incisions, but I couldn't get over how painful it was getting out of bed and getting back in bed. Because I didn't move around much, I ended up getting an ileus, which makes you really sick. I started throwing up again. Thankfully, though, my body started to wake up, and I was actually getting output out of me instead of me throwing up. But note to self, and anyone that's going to have surgery, start walking. What it does, it helps wake up your organs. It helps move the gas so it doesn't get trapped, and it makes you sick. So I was in the hospital about a week. They give you 6 weeks with any abdominal surgery of healing time, just because they don't want you to lift, push, or pull anything, usually over 10 pounds, because it could create a hernia. And especially with me having a stoma sticking out of my body, it's just not as strong right there, those muscles. After I'd healed up, we scheduled my second surgery in October of 2019, and this was called, I have to consult my notes because I'm going to say it wrong, a total proctocolectomy with ileo-pouch anal anastomosis. So my colon had already been removed, but we were removing my rectum, leaving that rectal cuff, and then he was forming with my small intestines the J pouch. So that's the internal pouch. And then I was giving a new stoma, which is the part that sticks out of your body, which was the loop. This was my shortest surgery. I was literally there through the weekend. He did a quick check to make sure the pouch looked good, and then I got to go. The plan was, so that was in October. In December, we were going to do like a pouchoscopy. The pouchoscopy is similar to a colonoscopy. He was just going to scope the pouch, make sure it had healed nicely, and then we were going to do a like contrast. It was a very interesting experience. They put like contrast up your rear. They feed it basically up to where your stoma is. And the point is they're like monitoring to make sure there's no leaks in the pouch. So that was the plan. We were going to do that in December before we talked reversal surgery to make sure the pouch actually was holding up well. Unfortunately, 2 weeks after I had my second surgery, I got very ill. I ended up in the hospital again, and I was told that I had adhesions. So abdominal adhesions, they can happen with any type of abdominal surgery. They are bands of scar-like tissue that form between 2 or more organs or between your organs and the abdominal wall. So adhesions, they can bend, twist, kink your organs or your small intestines, in the abdomen, and they can cause symptoms and complications like intestinal obstruction and blockage. This is common after an abdominal surgery. It is more common with an open surgery than laparoscopic surgery. Majority of people with adhesions actually don't develop any symptoms. I just got to be the lucky one. So my symptoms leading up to, it was a Friday, well, back up, a Thursday night, I had really high output, I got dehydrated. So Friday morning I was pretty sick, and I thought part of it was, and it could have been dehydration. I was very dehydrated. I was trying to work, I was working from home at this point, and I just had to be like, I can't. I was running to the bathroom to throw up. It was just not great. I realized I was also not really having much output come out. A lot of it was just mucus. And part of me was thinking, because I hadn't eaten anything, well, nothing's going to come out. However, I threw up all day Friday. I thought at one point things had slowed down Saturday, and they didn't. My parents had come down to visit, and my mom convinced me Saturday evening that I needed to go to the doctor. So we went to the ER. They did some tests, and my surgeon actually came in to see me and said that it looked like I had adhesions, which is an abdominal obstruction. But instead of being obstructed with food, it was obstructed because it was kinked. Sometimes they work themselves out. Unfortunately, mine didn't, and I needed surgery. So some common symptoms of adhesions would be abdominal cramping, bloating, constipation, not passing gas. I was having, leading up to that, very painful gas. So it would be like I'd get an abdominal cramp, and then my stomach would fart really loudly, and then I felt better. But that was kind of my symptom leading up to, where it was probably starting to kink but hadn't fully done it. And then nausea and vomiting. So we had done some procedures for them to see that. A lot of times they'll do a CAT scan, and then sometimes they'll do what's called a lower GI series, just to see where everything is at. So I ended up with surgery. With this surgery, my other two surgeries had been laparoscopic. He started to go laparoscopically, but he was afraid that he was going to tear my intestines. So I actually got cut down the middle, right through the belly button and down to my lower abdominal area for him to finish the surgery. So I ended up with a bigger cut. Once I healed, that process took a while to heal because I'd been so ill and very sick before. I still had my pouchoscopy done in December, and actually everything looked great. My pouch had healed, and then there was no leaks found. So he was essentially like, whenever you're ready, we can do the last surgery. Because of the adhesions, I was not itching to have another surgery. So I was like, maybe in the summer. Well, that next year was 2020, and so I was not really itching to have another surgery. So we went all of 2020. I was like, no thanks. Unfortunately, in October of 2020, I ended up with adhesions again. Another cut down the middle surgery because they didn't work themselves out. That's leading up to today now. My plan is to have the reversal surgery finally in just a couple of months, July of 2022. I plan to take you along with me on this journey of utilizing my J pouch, the healing process, because there's not a lot of information out there about the J pouches. But that's a little recap of what my surgeries have been with my ostomy bag. I hope you enjoyed this video, you thought it was informational. Just know that what I went through with adhesions doesn't mean that you're going to if you're going to need these surgeries. Some people never get adhesions, some people do. It's kind of a toss-up, but just know I am here. Would I do it over again? Yes, like even knowing that I might have adhesions, I'd do it again. I hope you are well. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for whenever my next videos come out, and until then, I'll see you in the next one.